Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Astral Doorway. I'd like to thank all the new subscribers. So many kind comments, people asking questions, and just really interested in this topic of astral projection and in what I have to share. So I really appreciate that. If you haven't already, click the bell button so you know when I upload a new video, as there will be many videos on the way. So, on this episode, I'll be talking about another experience I had this week, which relates to the experience I shared, which involved me stumbling upon a temple in the astral and attending a class led by a priestess. And there were around 100 unconscious participants there with me. There's a link for that on the screen now, if you would like to listen to that first. Now, in this experience, I tried a little experiment with these unconscious people in the astral. I tried to wake them up. I tried to make them conscious that they were out of body. Now, a lot of people come out of body every night unconsciously. I made a video explaining a bit about this in my episode called Lucid Dreaming versus Astral Projection. And I will be making a similar video to that one where I will be going even deeper and clarifying about the fact that we can have shared dreams and non-shared astral projections too. But for now, let me describe this interesting experience, which towards the end was quite funny. But really, this whole experience is me being a bit bad, really. I shouldn't have done what I did in a way. So anyway, so before this main astral projection, I became lucid in a dream. Now, usually when I become lucid in a dream, I immediately intend to brush off the entire nonsensical narrative of the dream and go straight into astral projection. However, just before I was about to do that, I noticed there were two women in my dream shouting and arguing with each other. So I just observed with a silent mind. I contemplated the scene and realized that I was in a sort of broken part of me. Like there was a split inside me, inside my subconscious, that was arguing with each other. I felt the negative energy of it, the unconsciousness of it. So I just breathed and meditated and focused on my heart area and sort of consumed the dream, you could say, with the intention of healing it, of unifying it. As I did this, everything became black. I entered a sort of void of peace. And after this, I felt my awareness very slowly come back to my body. The transition was so slow that I was able to bring myself back out of body to find myself standing in my room next to where I was sleeping. So while I'm out of body, I walk around my house and enter the living room, and I see my girlfriend sitting on a chair next to our dining table. And she's just browsing on her phone, quote unquote phone, since we're in the astral. Any sort of objects can usually be conjured up like this, whether consciously or unconsciously. Now, in this moment, I know that her physical body is actually fast asleep in bed next to mine. So clearly, she's out of body unconsciously. So since I've been kind of at this stage of my spiritual investigations, investigating people out of the body unconsciously recently, I got this completely random idea to try and see how aware she actually was and see if I can make her conscious of herself. So I go over to her with a big smile on my face and say, hey. Now, she says hello back casually. I can tell she's unconscious. I say to her in a slow and intimate way, really trying to connect with her, do you know that we're in the astral right now? She says yes, in a kind of dreary way. I know that that wasn't really a conscious answer. Now, she knows a bit about the astral since I talk about it to her, but she's not exactly at the point of understanding it or practicing it per se, which is normal, like most people, of course. Anyway, so I say to her, hey, look, do this with me. And I show her how to do the hold nose reality check. You may be familiar with this already from lucid dreaming reality check methods. If not, you can simply Google it. It also works in the astral because the astral is also non physical. It simply involves using your fingers to close your nostrils shut. And if you can breathe through your nostrils while they're shut, then you're in the non physical. But if you can't breathe through them, then you're in the physical. So she does the reality check. And as she's doing it, something starts to happen. I feel a shift with her. And I ask her, is it working? She says yes, nodding as she keeps doing it. And she keeps doing it more intensely. Her eyes start to become wider and she starts to look confused. Now, what happens next was strange. I started to see another body of her, an exact double of her, which was a bit transparent. It started to slowly enter the room and merge with her. It wasn't merging with her yet, it was just in the room and it was going towards her. It was slowly about to enter her body, as if you imagine an out of body experience happening, but reverse the process. So, my theory on this is that her fragmented consciousness or awareness was actually more centered within another dream world. You know, we are multidimensional beings after all. I don't deny the fact that in these non physical dimensions, we can be in multiple places at the same time, just in the same way that in the physical, we can think multiple thoughts at the same time, or that we can be in a physical location, but be completely somewhere else in our heads too. But I'll get into all that on one of the next videos anyway. So, yeah, as I saw this other body of hers about to merge with the one that I was next to, she started to feel a lot of fear. She looked very scared. I immediately saw this as dangerous. You know, she's my partner. I don't want to cause any fear or possible damage to her psyche. Not that it would do any damage, I think, but I just felt in that moment that the right thing to do was to stop. You know, just as I feel in the physical, I don't believe it's ever right to try and force people to awaken. I believe when people are ready, they will awaken naturally and gradually. Uh, Nature has a way of doing this gracefully. You know, I've not made this channel to preach. I've just made it for the few people in the world who are genuinely interested in this topic of astral projection. You know, who am I to try and do such things to people? Anyway, and so while I saw her panicking and this other body about to merge with her astral body, so to speak, I just rubbed her back and comforted her. I said, hey, it's okay, you can stop, everything's fine. And I quickly just saw her and everything else go back to normal. And with that, I just intended to leave immediately. I flew through the wall of my house in a fast speed with the intention to just come out on the other side absolutely anywhere in the world. I didn't care where. And as I went through the wall, everything went black. I felt this intense energy, as I always do when teleporting somewhere further away. And I was unconscious for a few seconds, and boom, I find myself somewhere in America. I don't know why I ended up there. Perhaps it's because I speak to a lot of Americans online. Who knows? I suspect I was somewhere around New York slash Manhattan area because it had that real busy working vibe. I was stood on a pavement and I saw yellow taxis, burger joints, these huge skyscrapers, and just lots of people on the streets. I've never been to New York, but I had a pretty good hunch that that's where I was. Now, I guess I just didn't really learn from what just happened with my girlfriend because I still had this intention to see what would happen if I woke an unconscious person up in the astral. My curiosity just hadn't been satisfied, you could say. Uh, you could call me a sort of evil scientist next because I basically went on a hunt to find some test subjects. So I walked down the street for a bit and I found a small grocery store on the ground floor of a tall building. There were a lot of people inside, so I jumped up and went through the ceiling to get to the next floor. The next floor was empty, so I jumped through to the second floor. There were only a couple of people there, so I kept jumping floors until I found one that I could work with, and eventually I found a floor with an office. It was a sort of open plan office with about 8 people inside. Everyone was dressed smart and all busy doing work. This is quite common in the astral, a common thing that people do unconsciously out of the body. You know, people just do things they would do in the physical. People in the astral just go to work, sit around their house, do chores, mundane things that they usually do in the physical. Anyway, I interrupt them all and say loudly to all these office workers, hey, do you know that you're all actually asleep? This isn't the physical plane, it's the astral plane. Now, most of them just look at me blankly, but a few are slightly interested or confused. So, again, I show them all the hold nose reality check and tell them all to do it. Most of them actually start doing it. I ask them, is it working? Now, of course, it is working, but most of them they seem so unconscious that they're just like, yeah, nodding their head, not really realizing the true impact of what's going on. Now, there were a couple of women in the room. One of them had a similar reaction to my girlfriend and looked very confused and almost scared. But another woman actually started to become excited. She said, yes, oh my God, wow, it's working. I was amazed and I just studied her for a bit. She was this middle aged lady with this sort of wild expression on her face now. I said to her, hey, look, don't you want to take a break from work? You can do anything you want. Go anywhere in the world that you like. She said very excitedly, yes, I want to go to Africa. I said, okay, great, let's go. All you have to do is think about it. She had this smile and determination on her face for a bit, but I could see that she was struggling to go to Africa. And she said, I can't do it. It's not working. I said, no, no, it's fine. It will work. I'll do it with you. So I stand next to her and put my arm around her shoulders. And I told her to chant this with me. I want to go to Africa. And we chanted in unison, I want to go to Africa. I want to go to Africa. The energy was building up. And as we're saying this, everything turned black for a moment, but I could still feel her with me. And then, as if by magic, we end up in this dry desert wilderness with various African looking bushes and trees, and we can see the sea with a beach in the distance beyond some vegetation. She's still next to me, and I say to her, you see, beautiful. You didn't need to be at work. Now, I have to admit, personally, I didn't think it was the most scenic place. There were too many twigs and branches on the ground, and the ground was very dry and cracked. There were also vultures around us and a lion not too far from us. Nevertheless, she's ecstatic and starts cheering and running and dancing around. And I just stand there laughing, watching her celebrate. Now, she spotted the beach in the distance and she started to run towards it. But in order to get to it, she had to get through some of these bushes and trees. So, uh, What happened next was she was trying to get through the bushes and the trees, but I saw the lion start to chase after her. I just froze at this point. I didn't know what to do. The lion jumped into the bush and I hear her scream. Now, I'm just basically like, oh shit, right? I was just watching the bush and I couldn't make out what was happening, but I assumed the lion tried to maul her to death, right? Or something. Remember, we're in the astral, so nothing that bad can happen. All animals have astral bodies too, by the way. I'll make a video for that in the future. Anyway, she then comes out of the bush and looks at me. And she basically came out as half lion, half human. It was a hilarious sight. She had her human face with a mane, paws on her hands and feet, and a tail, and she was like almost double in height. And on top of that, her dead blank expression of confusion and shock was just an absolutely hilarious sight to see. I'll have to draw a picture sometime. It makes me evil for laughing right now, but at the time, I wasn't laughing. I was just as confused and as shocked as her. I had no idea what just happened. But thinking about it now and the image of her blank expression is just gold. Astral gold. Of course, I felt bad too. What had I just made this lady go through? She was attacked by a lion and basically half shapeshifted into one. I don't know how she managed that, but it was my fault that she had this fright and confusion. So, as we're looking at each other blankly, suddenly, without my own will, everything turned black for a few seconds, and I was pulled into a room. And you guessed it, I was unexpectedly in another astral classroom. And the first thing I hear immediately was the teacher saying, "Okay, we're going to take a break. Just relax." And he just left the room and us students inside by ourselves. Now, I'm not sure what that meant, whether someone was watching me and realized I was messing with people. But anyway, I just went with the flow at this point. Was I part of this class before? I don't know. I At that time I had felt bad for what I had just done to this lady, the lion lady, and I didn't feel the most proud about sharing it. So I just went with the flow. Really, I don't know what happened. This was completely unexpected. Now, this wasn't an astral classroom like the temple experience I shared. I could see that the around 10 other students who were in the room were also conscious like me. I didn't get time to ask questions or get introductions because everyone seemed pretty focused on just doing various activities. I had a sense that everyone else had just been astral traveling too, and that they were perhaps a bit tired like me. I sat opposite this girl who looked in her early 20s, and I sensed that she was actually an astral projector too. There's no real indications for why I felt that. It was just really an intuition. And also, I thought that because she looked tired, as if she was struggling to maintain her awareness, but that she was doing a good enough job to keep herself grounded here. On the other hand, I sensed the guy who was sat on the right of me was very conscious, but I don't think he had a physical body. I thought that because he was very energetic and very awake compared to everyone else, talking to people about various things and spiritual subjects. A couple of people showed me how to play a board game that was similar to chess, except there were a few different rules. It was interesting. When you picked up a piece, the board would light up tiles to show you where you could go. I must have played that for a good 10 minutes. After that, I got bored a bit and I noticed we had these sort of holographic floating computers in the room that I wanted to use. the talkative guy next to me noticed that and jokingly said, "You're not just going to find channels to subscribe to on there, are you?" I just laughed and said, "No, I don't really know what I can look for on here." Now, I had been out of body for a while at this point, and I must have looked a bit like the girl who sat opposite me as I started to sense this experience was perhaps coming to an end. However, this guy seemed so alert and awake. I think he was definitely a permanent inhabitant here. Anyway, he used the computer next to me and said, "Hey, actually, look, this is interesting." Now, what was cool was he got up these images from the computer, but they weren't just on the screen. They actually came out of the screen and projected into 3D glowing holograms in the air. He got up all these beautiful images of elder warrior looking people in front of stone buildings. They wore these beige cotton tribal sort of clothes, and also an image of the Milky Way galaxy, which was a bright white and blue with a sort of bright yellow sun in the middle, like the one you can see on the screen. And he also got up another galaxy next to it, which looked similar, but it had sort of a more green hue color. It was a beautiful sight to see. And as I was looking, he said, "Look, these people are the people of Lumeria." And actually, these people didn't live connected to our galaxy. They were more connected to this galaxy, pointing to the more green looking galaxy. He showed me the name of it, but I don't remember it well because it was just some sort of code. Now, I don't know anything about Lumeria. I know a bit about Atlantis. I think they're connected, maybe. But I've only vaguely heard about Lumeria once or twice many years ago. I've not looked into the topic at all. So it came as a surprise to me. I believe Lumeria was meant to have existed thousands of years ago towards Asia or something. I had to do a bit of Googling, but I still couldn't find much information on it. And I really wanted to see if there was any art or descriptions of what they wore or how they lived to see if it was similar to the images that I saw. So if any of you have any links or resources to show me anything like that, that would be great. Just leave a comment below, especially if there's any information about what they apparently wore or what types of buildings they lived in. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with that Astral computer. Was it a computerized expression of the Akashic records? Who knows? I didn't get time to ask because as I was looking up at these images floating in the classroom, I woke up and quickly wrote down the entire experience all the way up to when I was in that dream with the woman arguing at the start. So yeah, a big lesson from this experience for me is you just can't go around trying to wake people up. It's of little use, really. On reflection, I still think the lion lady was not fully aware of what was really happening. And I doubt she retained any memory of it. She could have. I hope she did. Who knows? One question that I can tell people will ask, and what many people have asked before, is it possible to pull people directly out of their physical body? Now, you probably could pull someone out, but I think two things are most likely to happen. One, the person just comes out unconsciously, or two, they're conscious, but they don't remember it anyway. You know, even for someone like me who trains my non-physical memory to remember these experiences all the time, I can remember up to 7 different dreams every morning sometimes, or more. But still, sometimes I can go all day until the evening and then suddenly remember that I had an astral projection or lucid dream. Actually, that happened right before I started this recording. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon right now. I woke up at around 10 a.m. this morning. And right before I did this recording, I realized, oh, I remembered that I became lucid in a dream. I can remember doing the reality check, but I can't recall any memory of it. So the likeliness of people remembering you pulling them out of their body is going to be very small. People need to align their intent and desire and practice to remember these experiences themselves. That's why I always say, always recall all your dreams, and even all the insignificant details of them, whether it's a dream or astral projection. It really helps with this non-physical memory part of our brain. So, thanks for listening, everyone. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you on the next episode.